no drama, we got it. If you like sports, yeah, we got it. You like politics, promise we got it. Report everything hot at this college. PG News, yeah, right off the press. Reporters and filmers, PG got the best. Information that you need is reported. Make sure y'all tune in for what's happening next.
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of PGCC Perspectives, where we talk about everything political, platonic, and problematic. I'm your host, Priscilla, and I'm here with my co host,
Aniya.
So, today, guys, we have a very interesting episode for you. But first of all, it's Black History Month.
Yeah, Black History.
We're here to celebrate resilience, brilliance, and the global legacy of Black people. But in the middle of this celebration, there is an online discourse that we need to take a look at. This is between African Americans and Africans that are living in the United States. So we will be unpacking the historical context. We will also be looking at the social media amplifications and internalized biases. And also, one very powerful question: who benefits when Black communities are divided?
And right there, that's a really good question because it really makes you look at the bigger picture and stop and look around and be like, wait, you guys, we're not getting anywhere. You start looking around, and once we start to realize that and look around and see who's really getting like the benefit of us pretty much dragging each other down, it starts to become clear what the real big picture is. But it's okay though, because we're gonna get there for y'all. We're gonna get there.
We're going to get there. So, before anything, let's take a look at the historical context first. I think we can all agree that before social media, that the tension between African Americans and Africans was shaped by history.
Oh, 1000%.
And before anything, we have to get to the root of the matter to really understand the weight of this issue and how pressing it is. So first, let me ask you, Aniya,
I'm
what
listening.
do you think? How do you think history plays a role in this discourse?
I feel like history is honestly the reason why we're here because I feel like people are not really on one side are either not educated or on the other side aren't really being completely truthful and honest about how history really went. And I think that's kind of a core of so why everyone is arguing at this current moment because like truth be told, we all came from like we're going back from slavery to now. We all did come from Africa. It's just some of us was shipped to America, unfortunately. Some of us were shipped to different parts of the world.
Exactly.
But since we're speaking specifically about African Americans,
Mhm.
like I'm African American, so my ancestors were shipped to America, unfortunately, and because of that, I feel like what we carried with us was African values, as well as the fact that we had to intermingle that with all the other races that were already here. On top of that, so when you kind of have a mixture of your own culture, and then you have to
Right.
kind of make a way for your culture as well, because of the kind of the terrible situation that you're in. It's like you kind of get removed from, I'm gonna say your home country.
Yes.
However, you still kind of give life to a new culture that's still beneficial and still
and you make it your own because it's something that has been stripped away from you. So even in that experience, you tend to have autonomy by creating tradition and
1000%.
creating, identity out of something that has been taken away from you for so long.
Exactly.
I think
agree.
that's a really great answer. That's a really great answer. I believe that I even have anything to say at this point? Like, you said everything, but I do believe that that is a very solid answer, very solid opinion because a lot of I'm African, and my co-host and
I'm
here.
African American.
So I believe that I believe that even though a lot of who African Americans are today can be traced back to African descents, it is also very important to acknowledge the fact that they had to create something out of nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is also a very, strong characteristic, I mean, when it comes to a community.
And I think that's slightly, I think I kind of touched on this already, but I just kind of want to expand. I think that's where a sense of the divide comes from because while we have again the same kind of core values, we also, like I said, we breathe life into like our own culture, into our own thing. So now people are kind of like, I feel like people are kind of arguing on the basis of that as
Exactly.
well. But if it either means defending our own and what we mean and what we hold to ourselves in terms of our culture and what we birthed, or if it means to kind of talk about and try to re-explain like what certain things mean or what certain things are, how certain things
Exactly.
originated.
Yeah.
And it's like I think that also can cause some division in the group as well. But either way, in my opinion, I just think it all comes it does at the base come from the same place, and it is different. However, it's not in my opinion, it's not good enough for us to be divided.
Exactly.
It's not.
Yes. Also I think that, a lot of the contention
Hmm.
that is going on between these two groups of people is the fact that one had a choice and the other didn't.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really
Yeah,
good point. That's a really good
because
point.
a lot of Africans Americans today who, descended from African roots were brought to this country and they didn't have a choice.
Not at all.
But a lot of Africans that migrate to this country, whether first generation, second generation, there is a choice.
Hmm.
A choice to come for a better life, a choice to come for education, for family, whether to come and go back home. There's a choice. And I think that's where, there's a little bit of a push and pull,
Hmm.
and there's a little bit of well, I had a choice, and well, I didn't have a choice, and it just creates this divide
Hmm.
between these two communities, I feel like, in when
Mm,
we're talking about
I
historical
agree.
context.
I
Yeah.
agree. I think that that point about you saying how we didn't have a choice and you guys had it, well, as a
Well,
yeah,
most,
well,
not most, not everyone,
not
most,
everybody,
most,
but
most.
how most unfortunately did not have a choice while others did fortunately have a choice. I agree. I think that to an extent on one side it's like, okay, we made a way for us to feel at least, I can't even really say comfortable, but at least be seen in America, and then Africans can come here and they can also be seen in America as well. But on the other side, it also can be a thing of like, oh well, we did this, so this, and this, and I just that's another point that just causes another kind of division
Yeah,
in the
another
community, I
division.
believe.
True, true. And since we're talking about this division, let's
Mm-hmm.
move on to the social media aspect of this
Whew,
whole thing.
mm-mm-mm.
This is a very, very big core point or foundation when it comes to this conversation, because a lot of this happens online,
Exactly,
and a
I
lot
agree.
of this, diaspora war
Mm-hmm.
takes place digitally. So let's what do you think,
Oh,
co-host
I
Anaya?
1000% I feel like when you when at least in the DMV area, which I'm really thankful, and I really do
Exactly,
love to
it's very
see.
diverse,
It's
and
really
it's
diverse
it's
here, and I love to
yeah.
see how we interact amongst each other. It's like it's nothing. Like we don't even really think about it, at least in real life terms. But when you get online, I think, especially TikTok, you kind of see a lot of different takes, a lot of different, just like either being stereotypical or holding accountability, whichever one you really want to say. It's way more prominent online, and I wonder why it is. Honestly, maybe because social media, you have a bigger
Mm.
space to really
Do
say your
you
opinion.
do
But
you think the algorithms that are pushing this sort of content, they're rewarding division?
oh, 1000% yes, I
Mm,
do think that they're doing that because
yeah,
it keeps us from, in my opinion, it keeps us from looking up at the bigger picture of the fact that, like, when you
true,
come here,
true.
it does not matter. It does not matter. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter if you're a descendant of a slave. It does not matter that you're natively, most of your family is natively from Africa and you come here first, second generation.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, our oppressor is gonna look at both of us in the same room and
Mm-hmm.
gonna oppress us the exact same way. And
Exactly,
that's what really is.
exactly.
That's what that's what I really,
The bigger
the bigger
picture.
picture of what I want people to see who do have opinions of diaspora war. I really feel like at the end of the day, we're gonna be in, quote unquote, in trouble. I don't really like to say trouble, but we're gonna be reprimanded the same, regardless, in
Exactly.
America. And I think social media pushing that, it kind of makes people forget that. And it makes
Mm,
people kind of be angry and speak out of anger and speak out of like, this is what I need to get out right now, instead of really
mm.
thinking about like, yo, like we're all still gonna be oppressed
We
regardless. So
are,
me
we are.
talking about this,
So yeah.
now, it's one thing to and this was my main point of how I feel about the diaspora is, honestly, fully. It's one point to really just want respect for your, more respect for your side, and that's always respectable. That's always like, that can always be a healthy dialogue. But when it gets to the point where we're split,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's when we start losing the bigger picture, and that's when
Yes,
we start to
because
be, yeah,
exactly, because just because one side, both side, I believe there's each side has their own struggles,
agreed.
but those struggles do not cancel out the other side's struggles.
Agreed.
We all struggled, one side might believe they struggled more, the other side might believe they struggled more, but and at the end of the day, there's struggle on both sides. So
Exactly.
why not find not necessarily making struggle a common ground, but you have something where both of you guys or both groups have overcome. So why not, let that be sort of a binding factor when it comes to bringing together instead of dividing.
Exactly. I think like I actually think the common ground was a good point. I know you didn't really
Yeah.
mean it on the basis of trauma, but it's like, why
Yes.
can't we just understand that we're both going to go through things, and us going through things separately instead of together
Yeah.
is going to make things way harder and way worse
Yeah.
versus just us working together and working through what we need to work through.
Exactly. And speaking on the social media amplifications, let's
Mhm.
let's get a little specific.
Okay.
There's a topic on the internet that has been resurfacing for some time now that has caught my attention, and this is the whole conversation around African Americans assuming a certain group of people to a certain job. For
Mhm.
example, do you wanna take
Do
over
you
and
do
be?
you mean, I need to make sure I understand what you mean. Do you mean Black Americans kind of assuming that Africans assume certain occupations, something like that?
Yes. So
Like, can you give examples?
yes. So one of the most alarming ones to me would be, when someone's looking for someone to get their hair braided or something, like they'll be like, "Oh, I went to get my hair braided at the Africans," or
Mm.
"I went to the Africans to get this done," or the Africans can do this. But why are we, sticking that stereotype to a certain group of
Mhm.
people? Do we believe that this is because? What do you think?
I'm gonna say this, but there's a but. So
Okay.
everyone, hold on. It doesn't come from a place of harm, but it's harmful. So
Yes.
regardless of the fact
Okay.
that it may not be meant with a certain intention, it's still that certain intention.
Okay.
So I don't think it's right. I don't really think you should be like, I don't even want to say it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think you should really say it. And
Mhm.
it kind of puts it does kind of put you guys in the box. I'll be honest, because you guys, and it puts you guys. It kind of it diminishes you guys, and it diminishes what
Mm.
y'all are actually capable of.
Mhm.
And I don't really think that's personally fair on my in my opinion.
Mm.
I don't
Okay.
think that's really all I have to
So
say.
do you
Honestly,
think
yeah.
this sort of seeps into internalized bias?
I wouldn't s- I wouldn't say internalized bias. I would more say it's just people being disrespectful.
Oh, interesting,
Hmm.
interesting, interesting. Speaking of internalized bias, let's move on to that point, can we?
Go ahead.
So, um, in my opinion, I believe that, when these diaspora tensions happen, sometimes they're not just cultural differences. I believe that these are learned biases from
Hmm.
systems that are designed to rank people,
Agreed.
and
Agreed.
exactly. And you know how this whole diaspora war narrative might distract us from a larger systematic issue
Hmm.
that we have going on here in this United States
And I
of
think the
America.
largest systematic issue is our actual oppressors that are oppressing us. I don't want to even.
Who are these oppressors? We know,
We
but
know, we
we
know,
don't know
but
at the same
we
time,
know, but we gonna all
I
nod.
think everyone knows. If
If
you
you
listen
enter
to
the if
this,
you enter the sport, if you're in the I don't want to say the
if
word
you're
wrong,
a
y'all. If you're a
minority,
minority,
you
look, hold
know.
on, we're nodding at y'all. We're gonna be like,
You
we gonna side
know.
out, we gonna
Yeah,
look, and we
yeah,
gonna get push.
yeah.
But I do think I definitely 1000% think that that and it kind of goes back to your social media point that this is being pushed for division,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
I feel like the main goal that
And
oppressive always had was to keep
yeah.
everyone divided so no one could come together and
Mm,
revolt against them.
yeah.
And this is just one of the many, and that can be a whole conversation for that could be a whole podcast for a
A
different
whole
time.
different
But
time.
um just how oppressors, I feel like their main tack has always been to keep people away from each other, keep people
Mm,
from grouping together to really realize the bigger picture and to turn
mm,
around and go right against them because they realize, wait, this has never really been my enemy.
yeah.
We can argue, we can say who's done this, but this should have been like a civil conversation. It's really you
Like, who
behind the
really
curtain.
benefits when we fight like this online
Exactly.
or in real life? Who really
Our
benefits
oppressors
here?
benefit. Our
Right.
oppressors benefit every single
Every single
time. And it's actually
time.
it's almost not even almost, it is disrespectful how they keep pushing this and keep pushing this division amongst people because it does nothing but make it keeps everyone in like an angry and hateful state against the wrong person. And
Mm,
that is what I think that the issue really is, and what it really just boils down to. But what do you think?
I have one question to ask you.
Okay, I'm listening.
Do you think success is being weaponized to create comparisons between these two groups of people?
Can you?
Because it is, sorry to cut you off,
No, you're
but
good.
according to people on the
Mhm.
internet, it is, a lot of people assume that from the African sides, a lot of
Mhm.
people assume that, African Americans, lazy,
Mhm.
not really hardworking. And then other people would assume that Africans are, hardworking, very strict, very boom, 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 boom,
Mhm.
boom. So do you think that these narratives being put out there of like who's successful, who's not successful can be pushed as, a divide
Yeah,
method?
because in my opinion, it makes it be like, oh, you're not like them, so you're good.
Yes.
So, and that
That's
and
good.
that
Yeah, yeah,
causes
yeah.
that again. This everything we've been saying is just another
Mhm.
tactic for division. But to go
Mhm.
into what I mean by that is, if you put into somebody's brain that you are better than them, you're automatically going to get superiority complex and automatically and against your
Yes.
implicate bias point. You're automatically going to think that you're better. You're
Okay.
automatically going to think that your ways are better, your culture is better, this is that, and the third is better, simply because that you've
It's just in the
learned,
system that
yeah,
you're accustomed
you've
to.
learned to become superior to a certain person,
Okay.
and that is not cool. I do think that success could be weaponized
Mm.
1,000%.
Okay. So thinking about all these points that we've talked about today, what do
Yep.
you think
This,
solidarity should look like between these two groups of
us just
people?
putting this whole thing to me, again, like I said earlier, it's I don't think it should be as deep as it is at all. I feel like this whole conversation is just like miscommunication, misunderstanding, and then lack of wanting to understand.
Yeah,
And
so ignorance.
yeah, pretty much ignorant. Well, I
On
mean,
both
it's both,
sides.
pretty
On
much.
both
Oh yeah, both on
sides.
both sides, like most definitely.
Yes.
But I think it also takes away from how great we are as a people, either
Together.
together, separately, whichever we want to say,
But more together.
but more together. Correct. It really takes away from that, and it takes away from all the positives and all the like stuff that we could be uplifting about ourselves, especially during this month as well.
Mhm.
And I just I just think it just boils down to a thing of respect. I just think we should
Yeah.
have more respect for each
For
other, and
cultures and
yeah.
especially one thing I want to highlight about having respect for each other's cultures is recently actually a streamer named Speed did a tour
Yeah, his
throughout
tour,
Africa.
Africa tour.
Yes, and I think this was a very great example of someone who is, of African American, on the African American side, showcasing how beautiful African culture can be and using that method as something to unite both sides.
Exactly.
Think about all the culture, think
Mhm.
about how well we can do if, we put the differences aside and,
Mhm.
understand the basis of, where we all come from and the basis
Exactly.
of where we all draw our inspiration from,
Exactly.
because at the end of the day, both groups experience racism in
Mhm.
America.
Agreed.
Both groups are navigating their identity in
Mhm.
this society, and we're all shaped by systems of white supremacy.
Exactly.
So, at the end of the day, let's think about the culture that we have to celebrate
Exactly.
instead of tearing
African
each
culture,
other
African
down.
American culture. There's so many things that both sides really just have to offer to this world, and if we just keep diminishing, keep fighting about it,
Hmm.
it's no point. African
Yes.
Americans, they're not lazy. They're not none of that. We're powerful people, just like how African people are powerful people, but we're even powerful together at the end of the day.
Exactly. And that brings us to the question that we asked at the very beginning. Who really benefits when black communities are divided?
The oppressors.
The
The
oppressors. And who might
oppressors.
those oppressors be? Make sure you come back in our next episode to hear us talk about that.
Mhm.
This has been a very interesting episode with my co-host.
Anaya.
Thank you guys for tuning in,
We hope
and
you
we
all
will see
enjoyed.
you next time.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.